Ladies and gentlemen, you're all very welcome here tonight. I want to be your representative for Waterford in the next Dáil, and tonight I'm launching my campaign as the Renewal candidate. Our fishing industry is our greatest national resource. We need to regain our fishing rights so our coastal communities can thrive and prosper. We need a university for the South East so we can attract foreign investment and jobs. We urgently need to build social and affordable housing to ensure we have a stable economy. We have been marginalised and forgotten for long enough, and we need someone in the Dáil who's going to stand up for Waterford. I want to be that person, and I need your help to do so. As John mentioned, I'm married to Anna and we have 3 children. We live in Dunmore East, where I was born and reared. I'm a qualified financial advisor and I've been a mortgage and investment broker with Charterhouse since 2011. I'm also a member of the Waterford Pro-Life campaign. I love Dunmore East and I love Waterford, and I don't think there's a better place on earth to bring up a family. But it deeply saddens me when I see my country changing so quickly for the worse. What we are witnessing is an ideological colonisation of our country. When I finished my Leaving Cert in 2003, I was able to take a well-paid job in the Fishermen's Co-op in Dunmore East. Driving forklifts, loading lorries, landing boats. The harbour at that time was a hive of activity. That has all changed very quickly. We now have 10 empty processing plants in Dunmore East, and we are witnessing our fishing port turn into a marina. So what's happened to our fishing industry? Well, the European Common Fisheries Policy was introduced in 1973. This effectively made our fishing stocks, and indeed our fishing rights, tradable commodities. Between 1975 and 2015, non-Irish boats have taken 184 billion euros worth of fish out of our waters, compared with 17 billion taken by Irish boats. Over 40% of the edible fish landed in Europe is taken from our waters. Our fishing stocks is our greatest national resource. And people might ask, what about all the grants that we receive from the EU? Well, we've received a total of 41 billion euros in grants from the EU in that time. Compare that with 184 billion worth of fish. Ireland, especially its rural and coastal communities, is getting a very bad deal. We must renegotiate the Common Fisheries Policy. Fishing is our greatest national resource. Not AIB, not Bank of Ireland, not TSB or any other bank. Renewal declares that fishing rights in Irish waters must return to Ireland, with more rights being returned to Irish fishermen. One of the pillars of renewal is local democracy, as John mentioned. We believe that nobody can look after local communities the way we can look after ourselves. We can be sure that if the Minister for Health, for example, was living in Waterford, we'd have that second cath lab a long time ago. Too much interference from Dublin and Brussels is destroying our rural communities. Our policy is to restore public trust by decentralising power to the various regions, cities and towns. We just take a look at our own history. The Act of Union 1800 happened when the elites in Ireland were paid off and bribed by the British Empire, and the powers were transferred from Dublin to London. Of course, this union didn't work out very well for us. In 1845, when the Great Famine struck, Ireland, having lost her sovereignty, was hugely hampered in her ability to use her own resources to feed her own people. 1 million people starved and 2 million people emigrated. Renewal Ireland declares that Irish sovereignty is not for sale under any circumstances, and totally rejects the European Commission's attempts at an ever closer union. One of the most pressing issues facing our country at this time is the great shortage of housing. Tonight in this city, people will be sleeping on the streets, in doorways and in alleyways. Homelessness is at an all-time high. In Waterford, there are working families living in rented accommodation who face the prospect of being homeless this Christmas. Currently, there are 1,500 families nationwide with no homes. This is completely unacceptable in 21st century Ireland. This government has failed the people abysmally when it comes to housing. We must go back to the days when local authorities provided housing for the people. In 1985, during one of the bleakest economic periods in Irish history, we built 6,900 houses. In 2015, we built only 75. And while it is most important to build social housing for those who are disadvantaged or marginalised, we also need affordable housing for those people who are getting up early every morning and going to work. We cannot, however, continue with the current open border policy. Ireland is home to over 500,000 people who are not born here. That's almost 20% of the population. And while the vast majority have made a positive contribution, we can't become complacent. Mass migration into the country puts an unmanageable burden on housing as well as on schools, hospitals and social welfare. The European Commission is currently considering legal action against Poland, Czech Republic and Hungary for their non-compliance regarding refugee quotas and have threatened to remove their voting rights. This is an unwarranted attack on democracy by the European Commission, which is itself an unelected body. Renew Ireland is in favour of limited and managed migration, but the level of migration must be economically, socially and culturally viable. There are many lobby groups at this time in Ireland who are pushing the open borders policy. Most of their money comes from outside the state. They have so much influence that there is little discussion about immigration within the media and within politics. Chuck Feeney's Atlantic Philanthropies and George Soros's Open Society Foundation are some of the key operators involved in this attempt to build a new world order. These same two organisations are also playing an active part in the undermining of our Constitution. We are here tonight to tell them that Irish freedom is not for sale. Renew is in favour of a university in the South East. The government has the power to award university status to any educational institute. Waterford IT is up to university standards, but it needs to be granted that status by the government. With this status, we would quickly attract high-skilled and high-paid jobs to the city and county. The current situation is that most Waterford students attending third level elsewhere have to travel away for their education, and most of them upon graduation never return. This causes a massive brain drain effect which must be reversed. In the past 5 years, the state has invested 1.7 billion into third level institutes in Ireland, with 100% of this going to universities, leaving the ITs completely empty-handed. Not only would a university attract foreign direct investment and jobs, but it means our young people would not have to go away for their education. It means their parents would not have to spend $10,000 a year for accommodation. It also means more money in the local economy. It would also have a great reduction in the brain drain effect. So in conclusion, we want to build a bright and prosperous future for Waterford, where our children can find work and education locally, and we can see our grandchildren growing up. I'm asking everyone here tonight to help make this a reality. I invite you to get involved with this campaign. Help us to deliver leaflets, help us to put up posters, raise money and get out and talk to people. We know what we have to do and now is the time to do it, so let's do it together. Let's stand up for Waterford. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, folks. A new candidate for this area. Brilliant candidate. Bright, witty.
New TD.
New TD.
When we established them